Masso, and I am the Director of Communications and Alumni Engagement for the Terry Foundation. I'm so pleased to bring you the first of what I hope are many alumni lunch chats and other virtual events that we can offer for the Terry community, both during this time of the pandemic and then just moving forward. So with that, I will go ahead and introduce our participants, or let our participants introduce themselves, and we'll get right into the discussion. So students, I'll let y'all take it away.
Okay, awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Zaina Gharbieh. I am a 2017 traditional scholar at TWU. My major is in nutrition sciences and with a track of pre-PA.
Hey guys, my name is Chase Gibson. I'm a 2017 traditional scholar at Texas Tech University, and I'm studying agribusiness.
Hi y'all, my name is Mey Ortiz. I am a 1999 scholar. Gosh, I feel afraid to even say that, but a 1999 scholar from Texas A&M. My major was communications, and I am currently an employment lawyer for Toyota Motor North America.
Howdy, this is Mike Shasteen. I am a 1997 Terry scholar from A&M, so I got you beat by a couple of years there, May. Make you feel a little better.
Thanks.
And I am actually currently calling in from my office here. I am an engineer and I work in the defense industry.
All right, great. Well, it's so awesome to have you guys here. I'd like to just do a quick check-in with the group, and this is something that I want us to be able to do with all of our live streams. So a question that I'd like everybody, or a couple of questions I'd like everybody to go around and answer is just, you know, where are you located right now? How has your situation changed because of these social distancing measures with the pandemic? And then what is one challenge that you're currently facing?
Okay, cool. I'll go first. So right now I am home with my family. My situation has changed to social distancing. It's been very hard, to be honest, especially since I come in a very big family and we always meet up on the weekend, family dinners, my cousins, my uncles. And it's been a really big change for all of us. We're like, hey, we can't really do those 30+ dinners anymore. Like, we all have to stay at our own homes. And at the beginning, it was really hard for my my older family members to understand, because they're like, wait, like, it's fine, we're family, we know where we go, and we're like, just in case. So that was kind of hard at the beginning. And one challenge that I'm facing, and one positive thing I experienced, I really think it's school, to be honest. Like, it's been really hard just to shift to an online format. But one positive thing that I have experienced is just, it really has given me an opportunity to take a breather, I guess. Like, I felt like everything was going so fast, and now we just had this time to like stop and really just look at the world around us and where we are, if that makes sense.
Good deal. Well, I'm still located in Lubbock. I'm still living in the same house I was before the pandemic hit. And I guess the main way my situation has changed, which I'm assuming is the same for a lot of y'all, is I'm stuck in my house. I can't go to school or work. So I'm having to work from home and go to school online now. And so that's been a big adjustment, but getting through it. It's going smooth enough, I guess, as smooth as it can. And so one challenge I've faced really, outside of having to shift over to online versions of school and work, the biggest challenge I've faced is being able to stay in touch with all my people I see every day. Like, kind of on the same note as Zaina was saying, I can't see my family really face to face right now, or a lot of my friends or my coworkers. So I've tried to get a little better about being intentional in regards to reaching out to them. So now, instead of just seeing them every day, I have to make an effort to call them and check in on them. I'm not normally the kind of guy that just calls to talk. Call if I need to call you. But so that's one way I've had to deal with the challenge. And then a positive thing I've experienced is it's kind of just given me a chance to step back and watch some shows I haven't got a chance to watch, and play some games and read some books and just relax for a little bit, because I don't have too much else going on right now.
Gosh, that relaxation sounds so good. Okay, so I'm working from home, just like y'all are. And as far as how my situation's changed, gosh, I hate to say this because I don't want to make people feel bad, but I don't feel like my situation's changed very much, meaning that luckily my daycare is still open. I have a 2-year-old and 4-year-old, so they're still at school. And so I wake up, I drop them off, I'm working from home all day, I go pick them up. And I guess the only change is I don't have as many activities to take them to. Like they can't swim, they can't do taekwondo and stuff like that. So that's probably the biggest change, as well as obviously seeing family. So my parents are a lot older, and so not having the grandkids hang out with them is probably the most heart-wrenching, to tell you the truth. What challenge am I facing? My challenge, which is also, again, I feel like a first world problem, is that my work has escalated. So I am working 12, 14-hour days, and I do a lot of it after the kids go to bed. And it's just because I'm an employment lawyer. And as far as a positive thing, I like having the time to cook for my kids, right? Not gonna lie, I'll still go get Chick-fil-A for them. But I like that I can't really say I don't have the time, because I can set my work aside and actually cook and have dinner together. So I don't know, they're 2 and 4. I don't know if they're gonna remember, but I will.
All right, I guess I'll take my turn here. This is Mike again. So I am, as I said before, I'm actually calling in on my lunch break here at the office. So I work for a defense company called L3 Harris, and we're in the basically in the Plano area. And we are, I guess, considered one of those essential businesses. And so really we're allowed to come in. We're encouraged to work from home if we can. I really can't effectively do my job too much from home. And so I've been coming into the office. So I would say my personal situation has not changed that much. Kind of like May, I'm dealing with some busy times on my programs right now. But I think where things have changed really would be if you step back and look at the family level. And so for my wife and my three boys that are aged 11, 9, and 5. So things have gotten very different from them, just in every bit of their day, from doing school at home, online, not having their sports and their friends and their teams, and I think that's been a bit of sadness there, I think, in missing out on some of those things, especially as your kids get older and you realize they've only got so many of these seasons right before they outgrow some of these things. But I think on the positive, on the flip side, is just an amazing amount of quality time that we've gotten to spend together, and the weather's cooperated a lot, so we've really taken advantage of that and been outside. And we had all 3 of them actually did a backyard camp out on Friday night and Saturday night in our backyard, and had a really good time. We got a little fire going and everything, so very thankful for that. But yeah, that's how things are impacting me.
Great. Thanks everybody for that check-in. For those of you that are watching the stream, of course, let us know what things look like for you as well. But we'll go ahead and get started with the discussion. So May and Mike, the students, have prepared some questions for you.
Like Amber just mentioned, Mike and May, we've thrown together a list of a few questions in regards to how we're all dealing with the pandemic for you two. And our first one we're going to lead off with is in regards to your professional careers. What challenges have you experienced during the quarantine, and how have you adapted to that situation?
Mike, I got to think about this. Can you go first?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so for me, I did also, I have been talking to my wife a lot lately about what she's been dealing with, and trying to be, empathetic there. For me, like I said, we probably got like 2/3 of our staff working from home. And so just trying to be more patient and have some perspective, and kind of not be so focused on immediate deadlines, and trying to kind of be a little more patient with people. I think for her, it's been a little bit more difficult just having the 3 boys at home, and really trying to do, she works for a school district and she's working from home, and trying to do tech support, and trying to keep separation when she's working, and make sure that she's not disrupted or disturbed. So I think the challenge for her is she's a very structured person. And so for her, when things are very unstructured and kind of hard to bottle, that's problematic. And so I think it just requires you, again, to step back and look at the bigger picture, and not be so obsessed with what happens on Tuesday. Right? Maybe you need to kind of step back and look more at the week level, and give yourself a little bit of a break on that day, and say, okay, we'll get this back the next day. Now, obviously, you don't want to let that slide too long, but just trying to have a bigger perspective on things.
Yeah, that's a great thought because it really jogs my memory. I think from a personal perspective, look, Terry Scholars, you are successful. We chose you because you're successful. You're leaders in the community. You get stuff done, right? You might be a to-do lister like myself. You might be a little bit type A, whatever that might be. And I think the challenge of this time is like having that learning, growing, failing, but getting better at that flexibility, right? Like I got my list. I have all these things I want to do, but I'm interrupted by calls or, the daycare calls and ask something or, and another flip side of it is always also thinking about that empathy and checking with people, because I can get so focused on my to-do list and, all this 14-hour day type stuff. But then I get pings from, quite frankly, my friends, my girlfriends who are single, not married, no kids, and they're lonely, and having that empathy to reach out to them and still, like, quite frankly, I often take a break between 9:30 and 10:30 and schedule calls with my girlfriends so that it's like a mental health check, so maybe that's not a personal struggle, but I see that struggle firsthand.
Another question we had is that how important is it to be intentional, like we just said, May, with your girlfriends when scheduling your quarantine days, and what would be an ideal or recommended balance between school, work, and your personal life?
Oh man, I feel like I should like do as I say, but not as I do. For me, it's not very structured. Like I like to have a plan and everything, but again, like I said, kind of that flexibility. I will tell you just for me personally, so it's important to me to work out, and because that helps me not stress out and get depressed or anxious, right? So that's just like a little bit of me. And so what I do is like I'll work, but when I pick up the kids, I always take them for a walk, weather permitting. Mm-hmm. They get popsicles, and that's my 20-minute run or walk. And that's kind of like a multitask, right? It's intentional in that it's time for me. I can connect with my kids. It's the workout. So I think that it's like that's what I mean about intentionality. Like, what do you need, and figure out how you can fit it in. And to Mike's point, you may not be able to fit it in that day, but can you fit it in the week, right? I don't know, Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I think for me, again, so since I'm coming into the office here, my main focus is the people I work with, and if they're trying to stay home and really trying to kind of, be the good citizen and make sure and minimize the spread of this stuff. So I'm trying to minimize how often I need them to come in. And so that's kind of where my planning and intentions come into play, is making sure I don't have people coming up here any more often than is absolutely necessary. But yeah, again, I think it really comes down to perspective and patience. And I know absolutely, May, I totally agree with you on the exercise side of things. And I've experienced that personally, where there were times when I got so busy that I neglected that side of things, and your anxiety can build up and you can get just really overwhelmed pretty fast. And so having that outlet, having that way to relieve that stress, it doesn't always seem like a logical connection to me in the past, but right. But I do find that getting that exercise helps reduce your stress level a lot.
And look, I mean, while Mike and I are a lot older and may give our advice, I mean, hopefully we're giving you ideas and on how to expand your possibilities and make it work for you. I mean, you need to do you, right? Whatever that outlet might look like, whatever your stress relief may look like. But I think it's important to schedule it in. I mean, obviously we're talking about flexibility, but if you don't, when we say be intentional, if you don't schedule it or make it a point to do it, it's going to automatically get pushed to the bottom of your to-do list, right? Like self-care it just gets ignored. And you shouldn't forget the fundamentals of like sleep and all that stuff, because I think that all affects your mental health and your perspective.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely noticed these past couple of weeks that before where something like a homework assignment would take me like maybe an hour, like now it takes me like such a longer time to finish it. I don't know if it's just like what's been going on or stress, but definitely just like going outside, getting that breather definitely makes a difference. And like I come back, and even if it was like 10 minutes outside, like I come back and I finish it much faster.
Yeah, not to geek out too much. Oh, go ahead.
My bad, May. Sorry about that.
No, please.
Well, going off what Zaina just said in regards to homework assignments taking longer, I've experienced that same thing. I think it's a result of now that, my day is not near, or it started out not as structured or as scheduled. So my classes were on my own time. I wasn't, I couldn't go to class at 9 and be done with it at 10. I have to make time to study. And at first I really wasn't doing that as well. And so I sit down and do a homework assignment and realize I haven't been in class for a few weeks and I have no idea what's going on. So that's one thing about scheduling my days I've had to get better about, is not just like in the past, in my free time, I've had to set aside time for homework and at-home assignments. Now I've had to start budgeting time in my day for actually like class time, learning the material, and then moving on to the assignments.
Hey, Chase and Zaina, can I flip this around on you? I feel like thinking, again, putting on my way back hat, my time machine, going back to when I was in college, I relied a lot on study groups and things like that. Is that an option? Are you guys finding ways to do that, to kind of, work with your classmates or talk to them?
Oh my God, my classmates right now are, they're literally my best friends. We have like multiple group chats. We're like, hey, did you just get that email? Like, do you understand what he's saying? Or like, hey, did you start the assignment? How was it? So it's nice to know that there's someone going through it, the same thing that you are. Like, if you're feeling stressed about something, you know that there's someone else that might be feeling stressed about that same thing or have questions about that same thing. So it's nice to know that you're not alone in that uncertainty, in that kind of sense. Yeah.
Most of my classes had some element of group work built into them, and those guys' values have increased for me tremendously in the class since this whole quarantine started, because now I'm not in the class able to listen to the professor say, this is A, B, C, D. Now I can use, me and my group members use each other as a sounding board and kind of make sure we're on the same page and we're not getting off on the wrong track on our material. So not group member or group projects and assignments were valuable beforehand, but they've definitely increased in value for me since this quarantine started.
Sure. What was the next question?
Okay. So moving on to our next question, which kind of ties into our previous one about scheduling your day. And I know this is one thing I struggled with at the start of quarantine and still trying to work through. So what are some actions, and I know that Mike, your schedule stayed relatively the same, but May, you're working from home now, correct? And so I was wondering, what are some actions that you've kind of implemented into your morning routine that'll help serve as a start to a productive day in quarantine?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, you do you, but some things that I do for me is that when I get the kids to daycare and I start my day, I actually do a gratitude journal. And I know that sounds so cheesy to people who are not in that space, and I totally get it. But for me, there's something called the 5-minute journal. And it is just really quick. It's just a great way for me to set my intention for the day. I think about what I'm grateful for, what one thing that I want to get out of the day. And it just kind of puts me in this mindset. It kind of gives me a focus, The same company also does a productivity planner, which I've not used, but one of my colleagues at the office uses, and he loves it. And it uses something called the Pomodoro method. And again, I'm geeking out because you may not know this, but I love podcasts about productivity and efficiency. So what that is, it's kind of like you use a timer. So, Zaina, when you're talking about, having some homework or whatever, what you do is set 25 minutes to focus on one activity, and then you take a 5-minute break, and then you do everything in 25-minute chunks. And that's how you would plan your day. Right. I guess a story to relate to this is that when you want to be a lawyer and you have to take a bar to get licensed, you basically don't know what they're going to test you on, right? They give you 12 topics, it could be like family law or criminal law or whatever, 12 topics. And you have to learn that in the span of 3 months, and there's no structure. You have to create your own structure, right? So I kind of think of this kind of the same way, where whatever your classes are, make sure you do, each of the class, each of a day, structure it that way, probably structure it around your group meetings or whatever. But I think having that bird's eye view, if you will really help you, because then when you come to your day, you kind of know what you have to check off,
So I think in terms of the morning routine, really something I try to do, I'm not always successful at it, but the day before, if you can set yourself up with some sort of low-hanging fruit, something that you can come in the morning and kind of knock out and get checked off, I feel like that gives you some inertia, some momentum to kind of keep you moving through the rest of the morning. So
I love the easy win. Yes, Mike, that's excellent.
Really good. I actually wanted to kind of throw in my perspective too, since I feel like I've had a big change in that we went to the foundation office every day for work. And this was also a time period where I would be planning events. We would be getting ready to travel and stuff for picnics. So for me, it's been, I'm not uncomfortable working from home, but it's been an adjustment just to say, where can I draw those defined lines between this is personal at home time versus this is work and productivity time. And then how do I wrap the whole self-care element into that as well? And I really agree with a lot of what Mike and May have said. For me, when I first get up in the morning, the signal for myself that it's time for like work is I make sure that I make myself breakfast. I have a couple of podcasts that I listen to every morning. So trying to stick to elements of my other routine that existed already. And then just say, like, even though I'm home and even though I can sit down in front of the computer basically whenever I want, I'm sitting down by this certain time so that I can get oriented and get ready for the day. And then when I've thought through just the way that my day is structured, I've noticed the same things that y'all have. There are certain things that do take me longer to do than they did before. Some of that could be because I'm at a different setup. Some of it could be because now I feel like my attention is drawn in so many different places. So being very intentional about saying, look, I know that I'm only going to be able to focus on something for so long before I stop even being efficient at it at all. So that is the point where I need to be able to listen to myself and just say, I'm going to get up and take a walk, even if it's not outside, just like around my living room. I'm a big fan of meditation, especially lately. So for me, I take 5 to 10 minutes to just sit and really concentrate on my breathing. I'll put either some of my favorite music on, or maybe something that's like a guided exercise or something a little calming, just so that I can say I'm bringing things back in to help me focus and help me feel centered, because I'm listening to myself when I can tell I'm already not even sticking to this task. I keep trying to get it done and it's not working right now. I need to redirect. And I think just being patient with ourselves and saying, this is something that probably would have worked before when I was sitting at my desk. It doesn't work when I'm sitting at my dining room table. So let's try something else for a few minutes.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like I find myself like every like maybe an hour or so, like I have to move where I am like studying. Like I get so like in the bubble that I don't realize like, hey, like my posture's kind of tense, like I'm getting tired, but like I have so much to do. So like maybe I'll just stretch and like go and I don't know, go see my mom, help her out in the kitchen for a little bit and like go back to my studying. And it really does make a big difference. We kind of briefly talked about this before with May about with your social network, but what are some effective ways to close that communication gap that social distancing has created?
So I think for me, I'm the type of person that I like to stop by people's desks and just chat, because I feel like at least from the point of view of work, and I think the same thing applies to school, is if it's all work and no play, if it's only business and there's no other kind of social interaction, you know, that's not my ideal kind of workplace. And so to fill that, you know, we've got messenger app, Skype, and so I'll use that from time to time, and it's not quite the same, but at least, you know, just kind of poke people throughout the day from time to time and just still interact and still try to make things a little more fun. And then I guess also I used to listen to radio or podcast or something driving home from work, and now I've taken that as an opportunity just to give somebody a call every day of the week and talk to them on the way home, and just kind of look for those types of opportunities, I guess.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm not a phone person. Chase, when you're saying I'm just not the guy to just call somebody and shoot the breeze or whatever, that's definitely not me. That very type A of, I'll call you if I need something. If not, we're good, right? And I think having to change that mindset, now I'm definitely not in the defense industry, and I'm not a super privacy. Sure, let me know what my data says. You got my data? Cool. Tell me about me. But so to that end, I use a lot of like Marco Polo, which if you've not used that app before, it's like it's almost like texting, but with little quick video messages. You know, obviously Zoom is something we use. Before, I was never a conference caller with video, you know. Now I make sure that I do it if I can, because there's just something about that connection. Text messages, and it doesn't have to be long. I'd be like, hey, just thinking of you, or send like a silly meme or something, or you know, like I feel like that's the intentionality, and it doesn't really take that much time. It might be in my little 5-minute break or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So.
For sure. Yeah, sometimes if I find like a funny meme or like a funny GIF or GIF, however you say it, I'll
I
just send
always
it to my
wondered how
friends.
you're supposed to say it. I thought you millennial. Wait, mate, I'm a millennial. What's the next generation? Y'all would tell me.
I don't know. I say GIF personally, but I've heard GIF too. So I'm
Okay. Fair.
whatever you're good at. Yeah, but even just like hey, like I'm thinking of you, just like a quick text, and it really does make their day. Sometimes, like even the other day, someone from my officer team texted me, and it made my day. Like I was having like not the best day, and that little text just made such a big difference. Our next question.
Amber, do we have time for another question?
Yeah, I think so, especially considering what this next one is. May and Mike, are y'all okay to go for a few extra minutes?
I'm good till 1.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah, I think if we can keep going, that'd be awesome. Thank you all so much.
So, Mike and May, we know that y'all have had to make some adjustments in regards to transitioning much more so to online work. And so we were wondering, for those of us who have had interviews for jobs or graduate school move to an online format, what are some steps that our scholars could take to best adjust to this change, you know? Because we lose that sense of, you know, it's a lot easier to get to know somebody when you're seeing them face to face, and definitely lose a bit of communication through something like Zoom. So how would y'all recommend they deal with that issue?
So I think for me, the interviews we've had so far have actually gone pretty well. We are still in the process of interviewing and hiring folks and all that, which is, it's made interesting by things, but it's still moving forward. I think really, if you look at it, it's actually can make things a little bit easier for you, right? I mean, okay, there's some common sense things like, try to put on a nice shirt, fix your hair, sit in a chair, don't lay down on your bed, right? Don't be eating or drinking while the call is going on, whatever else. But it also gives you the opportunity, if you want to have a cheat sheet or something near you, that's kind of out of view of the camera or something to kind of help jog your memory on things, you can have those kinds of notes and other things around you that may not be as easy to do with an in-person interview.
Going off what you just mentioned, Mike, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. This is the first time I've worn a collared shirt, I think, since quarantine started. So.
Oh, for us, we are grateful. Thank you. We're special. I think that I would say practice, right? It might be, it's certainly the ones that I've seen, they're fine. But for your comfort level, it'd be great to practice. And obviously we all have access to Zoom or whatever, I think that's where you could connect to someone, and Terry, find an alumni in your industry who's going to know the questions, right? Like if you come to me, I only interview lawyers, so I won't know what a marketing person wants or whatever, but use Terry Connect and see if somebody, hey, do you have 20, 30 minutes for me to do a mock interview with you over Zoom, right? Because then you can get candid feedback about, like, for me, I don't have a poker face. I'm over expressive. But that would be the same in a person, like, in a normal interview. But I would say definitely try to get the practice in if you can, and the great opportunity now.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I'm currently applying to graduate school, and I've been having to write a personal statement. And I went on Terry Connect, and I reached out to a couple of alumni from all over Texas, from UTSA, and I think one was also from TW, about some tips for personal statement. And every single one of them replied back, they will look over it for me. They gave me so much tips. One even one's like, can I just call you? And I was like, oh my God, like she called me, I swear to God, in the next 5 minutes. And we were on the phone for an hour, and it was so great. And I got off the phone, and my mom was looking at me. She's like, I've never seen you so just relieved. And I was like, it was such a great call, because you're getting that information that you probably wouldn't get, because you're getting it from a professional that's been through the same things as you, that knows what's going on. And it was just so nice just to just talk back and forth. I love my mom to death, and she's probably watching right now. But sometimes I can't talk to her about the stuff that I'm going through with graduate school applications or that kind of stuff. So it's nice going and talking to someone that has that experience and be able to guide me in a certain way that they know that it's going to work. So in terms of Terry Connect, if you guys have the opportunity, please use it. Every single alumni that I've reached out to has been more than willing to give back, and it's been so great. Our next question is, what are some methods? Oh,
Sorry, Zaina, I was just going to say really quick, related to y'all's last questions, and this is from like the technical side of things, and actually what just happened was a really good example. Keep in mind that because you're doing things through video, there's things like body language cues and even like a delay in the technology relaying your message that might play into somebody asking you a question, or even how you might answer a question, or like I just accidentally talked over her while she was talking because it took mine a second to catch up. So you may have to change the way that you wait for responses and try not to read too much into it, because it literally could just be lag on their end. And on your end, keeping in mind that this is probably a person who's not used to doing video interviews either. So try not to read too much into how they are or are not reacting, because they're probably getting used to the medium as well. But I think the big thing is just keeping in mind that if there's any kind of delay, it might take a second for you to get an answer, or it may take a second for them to start speaking, and you could inadvertently talk over your interviewer. So I just wanted to throw that out there after being on a number of Zoom calls and Zoom interviews over the last few weeks.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Next question. Thank you, Amber. So what are some methods to deal with like cabin fever related stress? I definitely need this advice because it's going.
Well, I mean, I would say for me, I mean, again, I keep going back to like, it really depends on the person, what's a stress reliever for them, right? For me, this may not be your thing, but a hot bath. Like there are times when the kids are like crying or whatever. I'm like, Jason, that's my husband. You got to take give me 10 minutes. And I take a hot bath and I come out and it's like a whole new May. So, you know, and of course working out, like I'm a big Pelotoner. If you've ever heard the Peloton bike, there's also a tread. I have both. And just getting even just 20 minutes of just getting those endorphins going really clears my head. You know, the way I think about it is like, if I am worrying about work or my flab while I'm running, I'm not working out hard enough, right? Like you have to work hard enough to get those negative thoughts out of your head. And of course, social interaction, right? Like really being able to reach out and talk to people and ask for help. I'm terrible at asking for help. This is one of those do as I say, not as I do. Reach out and really like, because otherwise, if you don't, people think you're fine. And if you're not fine, how would anybody know? So definitely the over communication.
So I think definitely, you know, the literal opportunity here, right, is when the weather's good and we're still in spring, you know, just try to take advantage of that whenever you can, even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes or something, because that does have a benefit. The other thing too is just give yourself a chance to escape. I know I have the tendency sometimes to go and read news articles, which nowadays it just inundates you with more and more of what's going on. And that's okay to do that somewhat, but you also need to give yourself an escape sometimes. So whether that's reading a book or a podcast, or if it's, you know, some sort of movie or show or a series or something that is maybe a little more light right now. Maybe you don't want to go with the heavy stuff right now. Maybe save that for a few months.
Yeah, like I know that I need to finish. What was Walking Dead. I'm so behind, but now is not the time for me to watch Walking Dead, right? Like, so go with like Tiger King or something else. Like not, right? See, it makes you chuckle because it is very light and funny.
Not
and
officially endorsed by the Cherry Foundation.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Mike, thanks for saving my behind. Yes, thanks.
I think the good take-home message from both of y'all is it's just like it's important to control or monitor your physical diet, your mental and emotional diet, same thing. So even if something might have been a point of stress release before, we're just in a different situation now. So if it helped before, but it doesn't help now, there's nothing wrong with you and there's nothing wrong with it. It just means like it's not applicable for right now. And even maybe changing up the way you do things. So I'm in group texts and group messages with friends all the time, but I've found that what actually is relieving is doing things like this, where I'm on a video call, and we didn't use to do that stuff before because it was like, oh, we have the group chat and then we'll hang out when we hang out. But sometimes switching gears and just switching up what it is you do regularly is enough to kind of make that difference. And then, yeah, definitely the whole mental diet thing. I'm a huge proponent of that. I mean, I had a ton of podcasts and stuff that I would listen to before that I've cut way back on because that's just not the kind of energy I can handle right now.
Right. Right.
Well said, Amber. Well said.
Yes, thank you, Amber. And so I guess we're going to move on to the final question that me and Zaina have for our alumni. And just in regard, or with the pandemic going on right now, what advice would you offer in regards to maintaining and growing your professional network?
Mike, can you go first? I got to think about this.
No, sure.
Thanks.
I think for me right now, personally, is that, wow, I guess we're all in such different states. For me personally, my thought is, don't forget to reach out to other people when you're in a position to help or when you're in a stable place. Don't forget to reach out to other people and just to offer and see how they're doing and see how they're feeling about things, and making sure that they're okay, or if they need any help, or if maybe you can help them find a landing place or something, because I'm just a big believer in that's something that eventually you hope that somebody will be able to do for you as well. The other thing as well, I think, I don't know if this fits kind of under professional networking, but I know there's actually a lot of companies out there right now that are offering free training while all of this is going on. I know people are stuck at home. And so there's a lot of really good resources out there that are offering free training. A lot of schools, companies, different software companies, things like that. And I guess, again, back on the point of trying to help people, when you're in a good position. So anybody, in defense or engineering or technology, my company is hiring now. And so if you want to hit me up, absolutely track me down on Terry Connect. And I'll help you see if we can find something that fits you. So that's my 2 cents.
That's awesome. I think I'm gonna take a little bit of a different take on it just because it's been in my mind lately. I don't know if you're on LinkedIn. Definitely, I'm still proposing Terry Connect. But if you're not on LinkedIn and you've not been on it lately, I've seen incredible value in branding myself on LinkedIn. And so I think it's important to have an updated profile if you are, doing applications or you're applying for jobs or things like that, thinking about branding. And there are really opportunities. There are people, whether it's safe or not, so please don't take this proposing something unsafe, but there are professionals who may be having a slow time right now because of their work or whatever. And they're on LinkedIn and just offering like Zoom meetups. And they talk about resiliency, and they talk about grit, and they talk about training and things like that. So I feel like there's a lot of content, again, to Mike's point, free for the offering. You got to take it for a grain of salt. You don't know if they're trying to sell you something, but still the large majority of people I've seen are just giving free advice about networking and branding and growing your skills. And then to that end, with the free classes and stuff, I'm a big, self-help consumer. I don't know. That sounds so, has its own connotation, but I really like Blinkist, which is an app that they're doing free right now. So you can like skim, or back in the day, it was like Cliff Notes when I was going to school, basically audio Cliff Notes of like the 7 highly successful habits of people or something. I'm totally messing it up. Sorry, Covey. But you get a point. Like you can just skim all these like skills and things that you need to think about professionally.
I think another good thing to keep in mind too when it comes to icebreakers is everyone for the most part is in a pretty similar boat right now. So if you were nervous about reaching out to somebody before, a really good initial icebreaker could be, hey, this is what my situation looks like right now. What does it look like for you? Do you have anything that's been working for you during this quarantine? Because maybe they have had to shift gears, and it's an easy connecting point because most people have had to make some sort of adjustment. So even if it's, still difficult to reach out to somebody who's a stranger. And I think that's where something like Terry Connect can help, because you at least have that common point that you're both Terry scholars. But on LinkedIn too, most of these people are experiencing some sort of change to their routine, and people love being asked about how they're doing. So it's a really easy jumping off point just to say, I am genuinely curious about how you're doing and how you're adjusting. and then the conversation can go towards, you know, advice for you or how you can handle things too. But it's very rare that you're going to pretty much know that almost anybody you reach out to is going to have something in common with you, the way that this is a common point amongst everybody right now.
Right.
For sure.
All right, guys. Well, I know that y'all had that short list of questions, and we have about 15 minutes left in the hour. So we've been seeing some general comments just in the Facebook feed. So people definitely agree with the hot bath.
Yay!
Solution for self-care. So lots of fans of that, but also we did have some people that live in the San Marcos area pointing out that they've been taking advantage of the trails, obviously when it's safe. So taking a little bit of time to just, again, if there's somewhere that you can go to step outside, of course, take advantage of it as long as you're still observing social distancing. And then Andrew says, you know, reaching out to others when you're stable has been great. I've done it, and I've received it back from others, and it really helps you check in with yourself. Bentley just says, thank you guys for doing this. So yeah, definitely. I mean, thank y'all for taking your time to share your perspectives. I do think that even if it's just the ability to find some common points in other people's stories is still, you know, super helpful. And even if you're still trying to figure it out for yourself, and I think every day is a new day and a new situation to gauge against just itself, not even the day before or what's coming the next day. So, but through this conversation, Zaina and Chase, while we're waiting to see if we have other questions in the Facebook Live, there's a little bit of a delay there. Did y'all have anything else that you thought of during this conversation, or anything else you'd like to know from Mike and May, both as alumni, as advisory board members? I mean,
I'm trying to think. I guess what's the number one thing that, like a tip, I guess, that for you guys to reach out to current scholars, because if that makes sense, because as we said, like some scholars are very like timid or very scared to reach out to alumni. So what are some tips that you can give to scholars to reach out to you guys, or just through either through Terry Connect, or even if we meet you guys at banquet or anything like that? So what are just some tips that we can come and approach you guys?
My first thing is probably have an ask. And I know that sounds weird. Like, it sounds so transactional, right? Why do I have to want something to reach out to you? And I only say that because I think as alumni, or just adults generally, like we want to help. But I've had a time where somebody's called me and just like, May, tell me everything I need to know. And I'm like, about life, about work, about school, you know what I mean? So have like an idea of what you need, and people are happy to help you. I think number two, be flexible. Like I mentor a lot. Mentoring is my jam. And one of my mentees, if I am allowed to have favorites, she's really good about, hey, can we do brunch? This is pre-COVID times. You know, can we do brunch? And, you know, you can bring your toddlers, right? And she doesn't mind that I'm like, oh, okay, making sure this one's not dying, you know, but still talking to her at the same time. I think having that empathy, that flexibility, like if you can make it easier on me to mentor, gladly will do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's never really been a problem for me. I guess I'm just kind of blunt sometimes and to the point, but you know, it's I think if you can definitely accommodate the other person as much as possible, and just try to talk to them, and also, you know, not make it completely about yourself, right? Because you're looking for information from them, you're looking for something from them. And so I know I've talked to folks sometimes where they just kind of go off and tell you their life story, and really that's not what you're looking for, right? But I, you know, hey, we've all been in your same situation. Some of us, it's been a little bit longer than others, but we're you know, so we understand what some of the things you're dealing with, and some of those issues. And so, you know, we're people too.
So we got a question through the Facebook Live feed. This person wants to know, what are some tips for when you might be reaching out to people working in your field? For example, I work with lawyers and I know they're very busy, so I'm afraid of wasting their time.
Oh, well, I think, again, it goes back to having an ask. And I know it might be a little delayed, but knowing what you want to ask, right? So, you know, whether it's email or LinkedIn message, I'm not sure your medium of getting, you know, in contact with a lawyer. By the way, feel free to reach out to me. But maybe it's like, hey, I'm really interested in the law, or I'm not quite sure what type of practice I want to go into, or look, I've always wanted to be a lawyer, but I don't really know what lawyers do. What do you do? You know, it can be as simple as that. It does not have to be overcomplicated. Probably just having like maybe 1 or 2 questions. And also start small, right? Like the art of negotiation. Don't ask for the whole world. Like, hey, can you mentor me and advocate for me and help me find a job? Probably a harder ask, right? Because I don't even know you yet. But if the ask is, I'd love to pick your brain for 15 minutes. Like obviously before, you know, people are like, can I take you to coffee? And I guess, you know, to Mike's point, I'm pretty honest, you know, it's hard for me to make time for face-to-face meetings even before COVID, right? Now, so even back then I would say, hey, love to help out. Can we start with a 15-minute call? And then me personally, I've started a blog trying to put all these questions that I often get asked. And a lot of times I'll email someone and say, hey, check out my blog. There's this article on mentoring or this article on law school or whatever. Read that and let's schedule 15 minutes. Let me answer your questions. And then let's follow up in a month or 2 months or whatever. And so I'm pretty structured with how I mentor. But at least don't be afraid to do the ask. Don't feel bad if you don't hear something first off. We all get hundreds of emails, maybe thousands, and it might not just have gotten, you know, or there could be some kind of filter where somebody only reads this particular folder once a week or whatever. So don't be offended if you don't get something right away. Don't be afraid to follow up. Probably after 3 emails that are reasonably spaced. So I wouldn't be like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Like, you know, maybe 3 weeks or so. If you don't get a response, okay, move on. Maybe that person is just not in that space where they can give up some time, and that's okay too. You know, we're all in different places.
So May and Mike, I actually had a quick question just related to some other things that y'all might have seen throughout your maybe end of college and then, you know, getting into your career. This is a pretty unique situation, but there have been some other like large milestones in terms of big things that have happened in this country, like 9/11 is one example. During those time periods when there was a lot of uncertainty or there was a lot of, you know, structural change in certain areas, were you guys personally affected either as students coming out of college or as working professionals like in 2008, for example? I know this isn't exactly the same, but that is something that our current students obviously don't have the perspective on the way that you guys would.
Yeah, I think for me personally, so I graduated basically in May of 2001. And so about the time doing interviews and looking at getting job offers, that was when oh gosh, I'm dating myself now, the .com bubble crash, right? So this is back in the early days of the internet when you could make money off of any domain name, any kind of random half-baked business idea that involved the internet. And so about the time that bubble popped, you know, people were getting job offers pulled left and right. I was moving to kind of, you know, almost ground zero of part of the .com in the Austin area and starting my first job. Fortunately, you know, my job offer held up, but I think, you know, not too far after that, you know, again, that's May of 2001, and then September of 2001, September 11th happened. So that was something that really, I think what it did is it made me look maybe at the bigger picture of where you wanted to go, where you wanted to be, and you might have to be a little bit more open-minded about the paths and routes to get there, because some of those doors and other things may not be open at the time. And so again, it's kind of, I hate to keep, you know, beating a dead horse with this, but just having a perspective of the bigger picture and kind of taking a step back and looking at maybe instead of looking at, you know, a couple of years, you're looking at more 3 to 5 years to get where you want to be. But if it's the right place for you, then it's worth it.
Yeah, I love that recurring theme we have, I think, during this call about having perspective. And I totally get that you may not have it, right? I mean, as a Terry Scholar or as a young adult, you may not have it yet. And then I think that's where you can get it by reaching out to a mentor or, you know, through Terry Connect, by having someone who's lived it. You know, things in my mind, not talk about specific situations, but I remember, you know, my freshman year at A&M, that was the year Bonfire fell, right? And the symbolism of that. And again, by no means is in comparison to the pandemic, but I just think about, quote unquote, just different expectations. You expect things to be a certain way and they change, right? So Bonfire fell, and then of course September 11th, and just various things like that. And I think back to like, I remember one of my Terry interview questions was, you know, what is like one of your failures, right? And how did you overcome it? And I look back and I don't know that it's laughable now, right? But my failure at the time was I wasn't valedictorian, I was salutatorian. And that was the most devastating thing that happened to me. And again, it's just that I haven't matured or lived enough to have anything worse happen to me. So I think to turn this around, Terry Scholars, if you are, I mean, obviously we're living this, but this is an opportunity for you to create your narrative for interviews going forward, right? Because one of the questions that employers will probably ask you is like, what did you do during the pandemic? Oh, I just Netflixed, and which is totally fine, not judging. But, you know, like your answer could be that you Netflixed and you did all, you know, video games or whatever you do. And I say that because that's my husband's stress reliever. But, or, you know, I read X books on leadership, or I learned a new skill or whatever. This is an opportunity for you to create and differentiate yourself from your peers on how you are going to be resilient and differ yourself from the pack for a job, right? What are you doing during this pivotal time?
So I think just to kind of jump off of those two answers, one big reminder for everybody is what Mr. Terry defined as success. And that was achievement of the goals that you set for yourself in life. And it doesn't mean achieving them with perfection. And it doesn't even mean achieving them on the original timeline that you had. It's the achievement of the goal. So you might be facing a different path along the way, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you won't get there. And I think that that can be kind of a tough thing for us to reconcile with ourselves sometimes is, okay, I feel completely derailed because my original plan is out the window. Well, the original plan might be out the window, but the destination might still be possible. It just might take you longer to get there, or there might be a different route that you have to take. And reminding yourself as a Terry Scholar that, as May said, like you were chosen by other Terry Scholars, which means you definitely have what it takes to be successful. And it might mean some adaptation, but it's there, and it might take you longer than someone else, which is why comparing ourselves to others is like so important to just try not to do that. But I think the overall message is if the end goal is what you're striving for and it's the achievement of that goal, you can change how you do it and still get there, and that still makes you a success even if it looks different.
100.
Okay, well, I don't have any more questions in from the chat right now, but again, y'all, thank you so much for taking this time. I know we originally planned for 30 minutes, but I'm so glad we got a chance to go a little bit longer because I think that we had some really good discussion today, and I hope that those watching the stream and then people, you know, watching the recording later will definitely get something from this. A reminder, everybody on today's stream is on Terry Connect, as well as literally thousands of other Terry Scholars for you to reach out to make connections with. And it doesn't just have to be reaching out to alumni. We have 13 universities in this program. Is there someone else in your major that you can bounce things off of, or that you can talk through, like, how are they adjusting? How does it look different from them? This is a tool that is meant to help you across the network, and not necessarily just networking up, but networking laterally and even networking down. If something has worked for you, feel free to share it. One of our alumni, Landon, the other day posted a PDF on Terry Connect about screen sharing in Zoom because it was driving him crazy and he had to do it for one of his research presentations. And then he figured it out and made sure that he shared the resource. So I think that's a common thing that's great about Terry Scholars, is we're always looking out for each other. And so this is another way that you can do it. Just a reminder about other things that are coming up this week. So we have on the 22nd, we have our Terry mental health check-in. So we have another group of students speaking with one of our alumni about mental health, and that will be at 10 a.m. on the 22nd. Then on the 23rd, we have a roundtable conversation with one of our Terry alumni physicians. So he's actually an emergency medicine resident in Dallas, and we have a few of our pre-med Terrys that are going to be having a conversation with him. So that's going to be on the 23rd at 2 p.m. And then this weekend, I'm so excited. We have our first Terry talent show coming up. So that's a weekly thing that we're hoping to continue with. And basically it's Terry musicians and Terry artists that are going to be sharing their talents through a live stream just like this. We're going to be doing it through Zoom. So if you have the opportunity to tune in on Saturday evening starting at 7, we're really excited. We have somebody doing a live spray painting demo, and then a couple of Terry recording artists and musicians that are going to be sharing their talents. So we just really look forward to that. But again, just a reminder to everybody, we hope that you're all staying safe, taking care of yourselves. Please always remember that we have never, nor will we ever expect perfection. Your best is always good enough. And your best on one day may not be the same as it is on another day, especially now, and it's still good enough. We just have to take all of this a day at a time. So May, Mike, Zaina, Chase, thank you guys again. I really enjoyed this. If anybody has any follow-up questions, definitely feel free to post them in Terry Connect, and we'll see all of you guys later.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thanks so
Amber.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.